Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we're gonna draw together this beautiful cocktail glass. Now, first things first, if you want to follow along, you're gonna need an iPad and Procreate, my complete shading pack brushes, and the color palette that I'm using. You ready? Let's begin by turning on the symmetry tool. To find it, go to Actions, turn on the drawing guide and then the Edit drawing guide and choose symmetry. Take your time drawing the glass and use the eraser or the undo command whenever you need to. As you can see in the video, I always like to build up the shape slowly, adding or removing small parts to perfect the object. When you're done, go to the layer and turn on the assisted drawing, cause at this point we don't want to keep using the symmetry tool. Then alpha lock the layer, choose the recycled paper brush and let's start adding some texture to this glass. Then create a new clipping mask layer on top of the glass to draw the liquid inside. I'm starting with this red, but we'll lighten it to orange and even yellow as we go. When you're drawing a transparent or semi-transparent object, I think it's always easier to start with a slightly darker color and use my shading brushes to build up the light on top of that. It just ends up looking more natural and realistic. The next step is to create a new clipping mask layer on top of everything and use the manual selection tool to draw some highlights on the glass. This is the one step that makes everything look so much better in an instant, you'll see. The best brush for this is my recycled paper brush. In fact, I created this brush for this exact step. Now, I'm gonna show you a little trick to take your illustration from looking good to looking highly professional. Select the Gaussian blur. Don't apply it to the whole layer, but use the pencil version instead. And use it to blur the middle section of those glass highlights. Why do I want to do this? To suggest that the liquid inside the glass is very cold, because that's how you want to have a cocktail, right? Thinking and drawing little details like this one makes an illustration really stand out. You'll see on the screen every time I'm creating a new layer. I strongly recommend you to pause the video whenever I'm doing that to take a good look of the layer placement. That will help you avoid so much trouble. Now, let's use this grainy brush to draw some bubbles. As you'll see in this video, I'm using my brushes for both drawing and erasing things. Now, I want to add some fruits to my cocktail. I'll be drawing each element on a separate layer, do the shading, then merge the whole fruit when it's done, cause I don't like to have too many layers on a project. As I'm drawing this fruit, I wanted to point out that this is a very realistic drawing process for me. I haven't made this illustration before, so in this video I'm figuring things out as I go, just as I usually do. But I did make a plan before turning on the camera. I prepared a color palette and looked for some reference photos that I can use, if I have to. Having a plan before you start drawing will make the process so much easier, even though sometimes it's fun just to play around and see where the drawing takes you. You should also know that if you are drawing a very familiar object, you do not need a reference photo. Here, I wanted to have a backup plan just because in real life I'm not a huge fan of cocktails and I just wasn't sure how the fruits would sit inside the glass. Back to the drawing, my favorite part of the process is always adding the highlights. You probably knew that by now. I love how just a few strokes make the fruit look so real and fresh. I haven't mentioned this before, but if you don't know how to select a layer with a finger touch, as I do here so often, you'll have to select this option from the gesture control section. Just go to Action, that is the key button near the gallery, then hit Prefs and Gesture Controls. On the layer setting option, choose Touch and boom! You can select a layer with just a touch. While you're there, try to spend some time customizing the gesture controls to your liking. Using shortcuts will make the drawing process so much faster and so much easier. Another one that I use a lot is the eyedropper on touch and hold. This one will allow you to select a color from the screen with a finger hold. You also see me doing this all the time. Okay, now it's time for us to draw a new fruit. This one is a slice of lemon and I'm using the warp tool to deform it a little bit since I don't want it to look like a perfect circle because no lemon looks like that. You want to take your time on this one. Add a bunch of little strokes to imitate that citrus inside texture. I feel that at this point I have to mention that this is not a tutorial created for Procreate beginners, but mostly for middle-level users. However, I think you can follow along as a beginner if you pay attention to my steps and some details. The tool that's in use always turns blue, so you'll see that on the screen all the time. Also, always take a look on the brush bars to see the brush size and opacity that I'm using. The canvas size that I'm using today is 3000 by 4000 pixels at 130 dpi and the color profile is RGB. Of course, if you have any struggles understanding this process, please leave a question in the comment section and I'll do my best to help you. Back to the drawing, the following two steps might be a little difficult to understand, so I'll do my best to explain them to you. So, what you want to do is go to the glass shape layer, the black one, tap on it and choose select. Then, open the layer section again and tap the lemon slice layer. By doing this, we created an active selection of the surface of which the glass intersects with the lemon. So, erasing some small portions of that section will make the lemon look like it's supposed to instead of just being pasted on the glass. The second step is to go to the glass reflection layer, just under the lemon. Use the manual selection tool to select the left reflection. Cut and paste it as a new layer and move it above the lemon. The 3-finger swipe that I did is the Procreate shortcut for the copy-paste menu. Congrats! Those were the most difficult steps of this illustration. So, if you made it so far, you're just a few steps away from finishing this. Now, I want to add some small mint leaves. I don't know if they taste good with orange, lemon and cranberries, but they sure look nice and that's all I care about right now. As I did before, I'll create a layer for every single element, alpha lock them, do the shading, and then merge all the leaves into a single plant layer. I hope you're not bored at this point. I know this is quite a long tutorial for my channel, but then the illustration is quite complex too. But I really wanted to show you that as long as you understand this technique and have the right tools, you can pretty much draw anything you want, even though you're not advanced in Procreate. Using the manual selection tool again, I'm drawing some ice cubes inside the glass. I want them to be partially melted, so I'm creating just some random shapes. I'll add some diffuse shadows with red and the recycled paper brush, and they're ready. You might think that all those details that I'm adding are a little extra, but to be honest, everything is extra about this video. I just wanted to show you my way of drawing things. This is the process that I'm following whenever I want to draw a realistic object for me or for a client. So, learning this technique would help you a lot if you want to pursue a career in illustration. I think this is the kind of drawing that most of the clients would be happy to buy and use. Now, of course, you don't have to follow my exact choice of style. What I meant to say here is that you should always take your time to deliver some really good quality and try to think about those little details that would make the difference in the drawing. Now, all there's left to do is adding some volume and reflections on the bottom of the glass. This part is quite satisfying because you just need to do a few good strokes to make it look good. When you're done, you can merge the whole illustration and duplicate it to create a glass reflection on the table. You'll find several tutorials on my channel showing you how to do that. I chose not to do it here because I wanted the top of the glass to be the focus point. But go ahead and make your own decisions and see where they take you. Thank you so much if you had the patience to watch this tutorial till the end. I know it was a long one, but it was very important for me to guide you through the whole process and to demonstrate that you can create a very good looking illustration even though you don't have so much experience as a digital illustrator. I wanted to mention this before. If you own a different drawing tablet, you can absolutely learn something from this video and adapt my technique to the drawing tablet that you're using and recreate a very similar illustration. If you do recreate this, please don't forget to tag me on your Instagram post. I'd love to see what you're drawing. And please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one.